Hello and welcome to a series from D1Baseball.com. We are calling Fourth Coach Conversations. I am your host, Michael Patrick Rooney. I'm an alum, baby. I am a former fourth coach. And this is week 5, if I'm counting correctly. So fired up. We've had 4 great conversations so far. Let me thank our sponsor, first of all. So this whole program is brought to us by Netting Professionals. And, a very special thank you to those guys. Netting Professionals specializes in the design, fabrication, and installation of custom netting for college baseball programs all around the country. Next time your field or facility needs something new, make sure you check out Netting Professionals. We are grateful to Will Miner and the guys. They have a great product. They love our sport. Just really important that we support them as they have supported us. So, gentlemen, good evening. I am excited to talk to you. For the uninitiated, here's what we're doing. In college baseball, we have a very unique entry-level position called the volunteer coach. It's the fourth coach, ironically, on a Division I baseball staff. And it's problematic because you're the fourth man on the totem pole. You're literally coaching Division I athletes, but you can't be paid by the university. You can't get benefits from the university. You cannot recruit off campus, which is really problematic. And so the idea behind this program, this series, is to give you guys a chance. Hey, selfishly, I want to get to know you guys better. You guys are the up-and-comers. You're the lifeblood of our profession. And so it was a cool way for me to get to know you guys better, to have what I would consider the first of, I hope, our many conversations. And the audience, I want the same for those guys, to learn more about who you are, and a chance for us to get to know you guys on the front end of your career. So really excited for that. And so I'm going to jump in. We're missing Joe Pace of Navy, who was with. There's Joe. All right, baby. That baby. Well done. That's almost like making an appearance, Joe. Well done by you. So let's kick it off. The objective here is obviously for me to talk less and you guys to talk more. So I am going to start with you first, Forrest. So what I want you guys to do, and we'll just whip around the horn, is just bullet point me through your resume. Start with your hometown. You can include where you played in high school, and then let's just go college playing career, college coaching career, and then finish up with where you are now and how long you've been there. So Forrest, go ahead, kick us off.
Yeah, Rose, thanks for having us. Forrest Arnold, originally from Columbia, South Carolina, went to Airport High School, graduated in 2013. I'm sorry. Went on to play baseball at Coker University, which is a D2 in Hartsville, South Carolina. Graduated in 17. The spring of 18, I was at a local high school, Heathwood Hall in Columbia, South Carolina. After that, in 2019, I was able to join USC Union, a JUCO in South Carolina. Was there for 2 years and then moved on to Savannah State last year, and then kind of things crazily happened, but was able to join Middle Tennessee in April of this past season.
Awesome. Hey, Forrest, USC Union, you said is a junior college?
Correct. Yep.
And are all the junior colleges in South Carolina the same? Like you guys would play Darlington, Florence, and all? Like, are you guys all in the same league, same division kind of thing?
Right, yeah, Flodar being kind of the most recognizable, but Region 10 with all the other USC schools, USC Sumter, USC Salkehatchie, USC Lancaster, all those.
Oh, man, so that USC system is massive. I didn't realize it was that big.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Awesome. Go. Bray, go ahead.
How's everybody doing? My name is Breydan Gorham. I'm from Burlington, North Carolina. I went to Western Alamance High School. I started off my college career at Appalachian State. I spent my freshman year there. Our coaching staff was actually released after that year, so I transferred to UNC Wilmington, and that's where I finished my college career. As far as coaching, this is actually my first year in coaching, so my resume is probably not as extensive as everyone else's, but I started at coaching volunteer assistant spot at A&T University starting this August. So I've only been there for a few months.
So, Bray, you went from this, I mean, I feel like once a month on my Twitter feed, the App State field, like that gorgeous picture of that field shows up.
Right.
And so it's, like almost feels like it's fake. And then you go to the ocean. Like you're
Right.
like you were a mountain man, and now so I guess what do we like better? If forget baseball and forget the school, are you more of the beauty of the mountains or the ocean?
I'm the ocean guy, 100%.
And Burlington is where in the state? Where is that located?
So it's near the Triad. So if you know where Elon University is, it's like right outside of that.
Okay, cool, awesome, good. Joe, go ahead.
So I'm from LA, and
Say your
I
name,
went.
Joe, because
Oh yeah,
I'm the only one that knows you.
gotcha. Joe Pace. Los Angeles, California. I went to Sherman Oaks Notre Dame High School. I played at Michigan. I was fortunate enough to play for 6 years with a red shirt in the COVID year. I wrapped up my playing career in June, and I just got hired at Navy in late August, early September. So, kind of like Bray, my resume is pretty empty as far as coaching is concerned. So this is my first coaching gig.
Love it. Joe, I was asking about Mike Stanton is also a Sherman Oaks Notre Dame alum. Any legendary stories on like what was Mike Stanton? I can't imagine Mike Stanton playing high school sports. That feels not very fair.
Well, yeah. So my brothers actually were on the same teams as him. I got three older
Nice.
brothers, and I've heard the stories about him hitting balls over the street, and he was all league in football, basketball, and baseball. And he was actually committed to SC to play football and baseball, but he ended up going in the draft.
Can you imagine trying to tackle him in high school football? That seems like that would be not a winning proposition. So good. Kyle, go ahead.
Yeah, so my name's Kyle Hunt. I'm from Mission Viejo, California, down in Southern California, and played in Nevada from 2011 to 15. Then after that, was able to stay on staff from 16 to 17 with Coach Bruce. Then the next 2 years went down and coached at Irvine Valley College in Southern California. And then Coach Bruce, I was fortunate to get the call from him to come back in the fall of 19, and I've been here ever since. So
that's awesome. The Kyle, you know Jay Johnson back when he was just getting it going. I mean, come on now. This is
yeah. He's had a pretty crazy last 8 years or so, bouncing around and being able to become the head coach at LSU. So that's actually pretty cool, to know him and to play for him. And as he started again going as a head coach, it's pretty awesome. So
I you don't have to think about it, but I'm thinking about it. Like your last game of your senior year at UNR, Jay Johnson's your coach. 12 months later, he's literally coaching in Game 3 of the CWS Finals with Arizona, which is nuts.
Yeah, it was crazy, seeing him on TV, and just it was funny because you kind of, you're watching him and you're listening to his voice really, from games and practice, and he pulls guys up in a meeting, and you can hear what he's telling them, because I'm sure it hasn't changed much. He had success here and then having success at Arizona. So, you go through that a little bit from your playing days.
That's awesome. So, Easton, you're coming up next, and no pressure on you, Easton, but I don't know if you've noticed, but we got a little East Coast, West Coast thing going, like a Biggie Tupac deal. So you got to really level us off here, Easton.
Yeah, from the Midwest, Easton Herring here. I'm from Pratt, Kansas, which is in western Kansas, small town, about 8,000. Graduated in 2013, ended up going to junior college in southeast Nebraska, was there for a year and a half. Had some stuff going on at home. So I decided to come home. Went to a junior college out in western Kansas, Seward County Community College, played for Galen McSpadden out there. And then went to Newman after there for 2 years. And after Newman, I taught fourth grade for a semester. And then I kind of was like, you know what, I'm going to go get my master's degree. So I ended up going to get my master's degree, and I kind of just found out they were doing an analytic thing, and so I just jumped in there and got hired on at WSU, and I've been 4 years. So
that's awesome. Is Coach McSpadden still at Seward County?
He is not. He's actually a volunteer at UTA down in Arlington.
Oh, right, because of Darren Thomas. No, that's awesome.
Yes, DD. Yep, great dude. Great staff down there, man. Unbelievable.
What is DT's connection? Coach Thomas is the head coach at UTA. He's been there for a long time. He's got a connection to Coach McSpadden, right? Like he either coached the Liberal BJs or he coached at Seward County or something like that?
Yeah, I think he coached or played at Seward. I'm not 100% sure, one of the two. I don't want to say he coached for or played for McSpadden because that's Asian G-Spad a little bit. So I don't want to do that. But yeah, there's some type of tie there. But
that's awesome. Very good. All right, boys, let's keep it rolling. So next question, this one will be kind of a quicker one. So just give me your areas of expertise, whether that's what you're coaching now. Most of us, quite often we end up coaching a bunch of different areas of the game. So Forrest, let's start back with you. So things that you're coaching, your areas of expertise, different parts of the game that you feel comfortable with.
Yeah, so mainly, I'm a pitching guy. Was a pitcher in college, and helped with the pitchers at MT, and was a former pitching coach at Savannah State and Union. But most of my time at Middle Tennessee right now is spent with the outfielders. But pitching will always be kind of my go-to thing.
And are you coaching one of the bases, Forrest, or are you in the dugout during the games, or will you be?
I am the first base coach. Yes.
Awesome. At 6'10", do you have an advantage picking pitches, or am I making things up?
I don't want to give away too much, but it has its upside. It has its upside.
I mean, you're like looking down at my glove. I could just feel it. That's awesome. Bray, go ahead.
So my area of expertise would be pitching as well. I was actually a two-way my freshman year at Appalachian State, so I'm comfortable just about everywhere except for outfield. For A&T, I actually work with the catchers, and I assist our pitching coach, Jamie Serber, with the pitches.
And so, Bray, what in high school were you a middle infielder, or what did you play in high school as far as position playing goes? I
was a shortstop.
Gotcha. And what? Tell me about what were you like as a pitcher? What would, like, if you had to summarize who you were as a pitcher? What was kind of your arsenal?
So I had a fastball, changeup, curveball, and slider. Mainly relied on off speed. I wasn't a high velo guy, anywhere from probably 88, 90. So I had to really be good at mixing pitches to keep hitters off balance.
And if you had to make a huge pitch in a big game, which of those three off-speed pitches are you going with? What was the one?
Oh, the changeup for sure.
Nice, awesome. Joe, go ahead.
So I was actually brought into Michigan as a catcher, even though I played middle infield and outfield in high school. And so my freshman year, I was a catcher, and then I was an infielder, then an outfielder for the first 3 years of my career at Michigan, and then I pitched my last three. So I don't really have a specific area of expertise because I have a pretty broad sense for playing the game. But at Navy, I work with the catchers and the hitters currently.
Awesome. So Joe, this is amazing. So you're a position player, and then you convert to pitcher, and you're being converted by a guy who's the pitching coach for the Detroit Tigers right now. I mean, how cool is that? Chris Fetter was your pitching coach. When you made the conversion, what's one or two things that Coach Fetter shared with you as you started down that road?
I mean, he's obviously extremely talented and gifted because he's a big league pitching coach now. But I think his big thing was keeping things very simple, and he knew all the data and analytics and all those things. But he was able to translate the pretty difficult concepts into very simple verbiage so that we could understand how to make the adjustments. And coming in from the outfield onto the mound, he was able to do that with me with simple cues like stay in your legs or your arms late, like be on time, little things like that would fix my mechanics and make it easier to deliver the baseball on time.
Love it. He is great and such a good person too.
Yep.
So Kyle, go ahead.
Yeah, so when I played, I was an infielder, played shortstop here. Now I'm working with the outfielders, assist with hitting with Coach Bruce, base running. So everything offensively I'm doing right now with them, and just making sure, whatever they need, I'm there to help. But right now I'm working with the outfielders mostly.
Got it. Perfect. Go ahead, Easton.
I work with our catchers and outfielders, assist with the pitching with Mike Pelfrey. Just kind of sit in his back pocket, try to pick his brain as much as possible. In college, I caught, so I've been pretty familiar with pitchers and how they work. You got to be nice to some of them. You can get into a few of them too. I got to know the pitching staff. But I've also been fortunate enough to have our head coach be Eric Wedge, who was a former big league manager and former big league catcher too. So I get to pick his brain from the catching side.
Gosh, Easton, I never even thought about this, but I was just about to ask you, and I'm going to ask you this question is, does Coach Pelfrey call the pitches? But think about this, like the person that's called the most pitches on your staff is Eric Wedge. I mean, big league, think about how many. Yeah. So what does pitch calling look like at Wichita State? Do you guys leave it to your catchers, or I would imagine those two guys have really strong opinions in that area?
Yeah. So they tag team every single bullpen. So anytime our guys are throwing bullpens, it's Eric Wedge and Mike Pelfrey right there in your back pocket. From a pitch calling standpoint, we let our catchers call everything. We've been really fortunate enough to have a guy named Ross Cadena behind the plate the last 3 or 4 years. He's unbelievable back there, man. From every standpoint, calling a game, blocking, the list goes on and on. So we try to educate our catchers as much as possible from weekly skull sessions, daily skull sessions. I talk through catching with them when they're in the bullpen. Like I said, the list goes on and on.
It's awesome. Gosh, I need to come to a Wichita State bullpen session right now. Like that just sounds. You guys should sell tickets to that. Come on, that's great. Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. So cool. All right, Forrest, let's whip back around to you. Next question. So I want you guys to just pick one area that you feel confident in. One area of the game. Whether it's pitching, hitting, base running, whatever it is, catching. You go wherever you want with this, and give me your core beliefs in 3 sentences or less. And that's hard. I mean, I'm asking you to kind of boil it down. But give me some of your core beliefs, 3 sentences or less, and what area you're thinking about. Go ahead, Forrest.
Yeah, so I'm going to go back to pitching. Number one, I think you have to be who you are. There's a lot of stuff going around with the data and analytics now, which is great, but I think it's easy to get caught up in, and kids are chasing velo on the pitching side of it. But if you're not that guy, I think it could just help you be better as who you are. So I think to keep it simple and try not to do too much would be probably my number one. Number two, I'm a firm believer in kind of dancing with the girl you came with. I think it's super hard to be very consistent at the collegiate level. So, whatever's working that day, that's what you got to stick with and, try to figure it out along the way if you can. But if the slider's the pitch that day, we're sticking with the slider until it fails on us. So that's number two. And then number three, obviously have to be able to command the zone. That's number one, get ahead in the strike zone and, the stats are in your favor if you're on the mound. So, don't try to give the hitter too much of an advantage because he's already down one.
Forrest, so you're right. You are a right-hander. Is that correct?
Correct.
So you're 6'10". So let me ask. I got a couple follow-up questions for you. You being 6'10", how does that affect the way you recruit pitchers? Do you find yourself more attracted to the guys with tremendous height and leverage? Not that there's a million of guys that are extremely tall like you are running around, or do you sense yourself like, hey, that 6'2" athlete is the guy I'm more attracted to?
Yeah, I like the athlete, and size never helps. The projectability is always good. But I think it goes back to kind of my core beliefs. I don't care if you're 6'10" or 5'11". If you can command the zone, compete your tail off, you're going to be a guy I want to get. So.
And what I'm assuming you played, all the sports growing up. I think I read that about you, and you played basketball.
Right.
What made you want to pursue college baseball over basketball?
Yeah, so it's kind of a cool story. I only have one kidney. So growing up, until I was older, I wasn't able to play any other sports just for kind of physical purposes. So didn't start basketball, football until late. So baseball was kind of the one that, stuck with me from the very beginning, and it's always had my heart.
That's awesome. And that is because of you having one kidney. You just had to be careful of contact sports. Is that what the deal was?
Correct. Yeah, early on.
Oh, man, that's really cool. Gosh, that's awesome. Very good. Bray, go ahead.
I'm going to piggyback off of Forrest. I would choose pitching as well. I think you have to have a routine. Everyone needs to develop a routine, whether it's plyo work, hip mobility, bands, anything. You have to come to the park every day with a routine. You have to follow that routine. You also need to come to the park with intent, whether it's just catch play, bullpen, side work, routine work, or it's your outing. You have to have intent. And last one, I say you have to compete because we can all agree you're not going to have your best stuff every day, especially as a pitcher. There's going to be days where you don't feel 100%. If you're only 70%, you got to give 100 of that 70. You have to compete on the mound, especially for your teammates.
Love it. Hey, Bray, so when you were a two-way player, you mentioned when you went to App State, if I had met the high school version of you, did you feel like you were more likely to be a like how would you rate yourself in high school? Did you feel like you were further ahead as a pitcher or as a position player?
I feel like I was further ahead as a pitcher. Coming out of high school, I was probably $140 soaking wet. So I wasn't really too fond of hitting. Couldn't hit it as far as everyone else. I'd stay gap to gap, single guy more times than not. But I definitely fell in love with pitching. My dad actually pitched at Elon University, so
No
The love
way.
for it came from him. Yes, sir.
That's awesome. Who were some of, like, as far as pitching, like for you and your dad, who were some of the guys that you loved when you were a kid? Like, who were some of the guys that you looked up to on the mound?
Oh, my favorite pitcher, Pedro Martinez,
Oh gosh.
100%.
Gosh, he was amazing. Oh man, I feel there's not enough. We need more videos of Pedro Martinez. I mean, he was
I agree.
so nasty. Yeah, awesome. Joe, go ahead.
So since I'm working with the hitters at Navy, I'll go off a little bit about my hitting philosophy. So kind of piggybacking off of what Bray said, having a routine and staying consistent to it, knowing what's going to get you better day in and day out, and figuring out those things. We have a lot of resources available to us in baseball now, and I like to use the analogy like it's like a buffet. Like your plate's only so big, you got to pick and choose what works for you, whether it's mobility stuff and overload, underload training, all those things. And so that's the first thing. And then the second thing is just committing to a growth mindset and going to the ballpark every day, trying to get 1% better at something. So 1% better on a fastball velo, 1% better at 2-strike hitting, whatever it is. That's number two. And then lastly, just knowing yourself in the box as a hitter. Your zone is to do damage in, shrinking the zone so you're hunting specific pitches and being on time for the fastball so that you can do damage in the gaps.
Love it. Joe, so when I've talked to Coach Bakich, who's Eric Bakich, we all know is the head coach at Michigan, just one of the brightest young minds in our game. One of the things that he's obviously at Michigan, you guys were, really advanced in the area of analytics. And I think as the old school, you get a little antsy about that. And you worry that people are chasing analytics. What I loved about what Coach Bakich was saying about what you guys were doing at Michigan was it felt like you guys were using analytics to just take a better snapshot of who people were and where they, where am I right now? What are my strengths? What are the areas that are holding me back? And then you could create, improvement plans around that. It just changed the way I was thinking about it, it made so much sense. So let me ask you this question. When you converted from hitting to pitching, what was the easiest part of the transition for you and what was the hardest part of the transition?
That's a good question. I really enjoyed playing the outfield and playing defense. So, I was one of those guys who I like to dive in BP and, try to see how far I could push my range. And I was actually fortunate enough that I was a defensive replacement even after they converted me to PO, just late in games, try to make a play or something if, the situation came up. So that was definitely probably one of the harder parts is giving up outfield defense, even though I was still able to, shag during BP when I was a pitcher, even though it drove our pitching coach crazy because he thought I was going to get hurt, but it was fun.
Right.
So I kept doing it. And then I'd say the easiest part was probably just learning from some great dudes that were on our staff. And I was very fortunate to have Feder and then Tommy Henry, Carl Kaufman, and Jeff Criswell, who are all second rounders on that staff and the 2019 World Series team. So I was very fortunate to be able to pick their brains when I was making the conversion. Even though all those guys were younger than me, they had way more experience than I did on the mound. And I was very fortunate to, have guys like that. And then also Ben Kaiser, who was team captain or closer, who took us to Omaha that year. And, one of my good friends. And he was always willing to help me out with catch play and help me get better in the areas that I need to improve in.
No offense to you, Joe. I didn't know you back then, but one of my favorite players from that team is it Jordan Brewer? Am I saying that name right? The outfielder that was like, as I was told, he was like a good enough athlete to play college football, but I think he had hurt his shoulder or something like that. But oh man, that dude was so good.
Yeah, he was a dude and a freak athlete.
Yes. Gosh, love it. Go ahead, Kyle.
Yeah, so I would say, defense as a whole, but then to narrow that down, infield. So I'm very blessed to have, Coach Bruce, I think is the best infield coach in the country right now. And it's biased, but it's what I believe in. Three things that, he preaches here and that, I firmly believe in is, your pre-pitch, your first step would be the first two. Along with that, you have to have good feet to play in the infield, whether it come get a hop, play behind a hop, your angles, playing on an X is how we call it here. But yeah, so that'd be number two. And then last one would just have some presence in the infield or just on defense in general. I think that first thing the pitcher's going to see when he turns around is the infield, and so if you make an error and you have bad presence and body language and everything like that, it's not going to go very well. But if you can, have that presence in the infield and know that you're going to control the game and be kind of like that linebacker out there, especially as a shortstop, I think you're going to be pretty good. And so if you can play defense, I think you're going to win a lot of games.
So Kyle, when you were a player, I got to see you a bunch of times when you were at Nevada. So your reputation was just a, really elite defender. Was that something that you have had, since you were little playing, or did you have a great high school instructor for infield player? Tell me how you became such a good shortstop.
Yeah. So I just really took pride in it. I think as I started, in high school and being on varsity and then coming here, that I wasn't the best hitter. So I kind of figured out a way that I needed to play or how I could play. So really, my philosophy was to crowd the plate offensively and get hit. And so then at that point it was let's just play some defense. Jay Johnson told me, I remember my junior year, like I said, 260 hit or whatever it was. And he came up to me and he said, you know what? Hey, he goes, if you hit the ball hard, you'll play a lot. He goes, but I just want you to focus on defense. And so that kind of, turned the page for me. It kept it simple. And I was, I'm going to hit ninth. I'm going to go play defense, and I'm just going to take pride in that and own it, really. So,
love it. That's great. Go ahead, Easton.
So I'm going to go with catching. One of the first things I wrote down is be on time. If you're not on time, you're not going to be able to catch. If you got a guy that's throwing a Pelfrey 95, 96 mile an hour sinker, you got to be on time to beat the ball to a spot. Because if you don't, you're going to get thumbed and you're going to drop balls, that type of stuff. And obviously, you guys are a couple pitchers in here. You guys don't like when catchers drop the ball.
No one likes that. Fans don't even like it.
No, man, it ruins the game. It ruins the game, ruins the pace of play, everything. Second thing I wrote down is command the pitching staff. From calling games, you have to know your pitchers. We try to get our catchers as soon as they get on campus to know each one of the pitchers on our pitching staff. Whether that's favorite food, what they like to do in their spare time, that type of stuff. We try to develop these relationships, because these are the guys that they're going to go to war with in the spring. Another thing I wrote down was having a ton of energy back there. It's kind of something that's probably overlooked. But it's something that you can control, and I liked what Kyle said, have presence. Wedgie always talks about, having presence, being 10 foot tall and bulletproof, which is a quote that I love. And he always talks about it. He always drops it. So that's the three things that I would say with catching.
That's awesome. Hey, Easton, follow-up question. The first point you made, I love, being on time. That makes a ton of sense to me. What prevents catchers from being on time? Like, I think about some infielders kind of like hold their glove sideways and then pop it open at the last second. And if, that can lend itself to problem. Hitters that, get to the, they're just not ready to hit, and then that creates all kinds of problems. What creates problems for catchers? What causes them to be late?
Yeah, so just being late, we work a lot with angles. So, if we're setting up inside on a right hand, or we're trying to angle our body, the left side, like our left shoulder angled up just a tad bit. So, if a guy's a sinker ball guy, or if we're working with a left-handed slider, that just stuff we're pitching in on a right-hander, we're going to try and angle our body as much as we can, not to where it completely exposes us, but to where we're going to be able to get under the baseball and make sure we catch the ball and be on time. And so, again, being on time is really important.
Yeah, so just like little cheats to get. Yeah, that makes sense. I love it.
Little bitty cheats.
All right, Forrest, coming back to you. That's it. I love it. That's right. Catchers, very smart people. Love it. So, Forrest, coming back to you. So you guys can tell me about one team that you've been on, whether you were a player on that team or you coach on that team. Could be youth, travel, high school. I don't care what level it is. But, I'm basically saying what's the most special team you've been a part of. So could be from anywhere. Go ahead, Forrest.
Yeah, for me, I immediately go directly to my senior year of high school. It was a pretty cool story. We were a group of 4 seniors that literally grew up playing together on every single team from Little League all the way up to that season. And what made that team so special was the year before that, we actually got a brand new head coach Tim Perry, who actually just got a spot as director of player development down at Coastal Carolina, came in our junior year, and we pretty much had the same team we had our senior year, but we just didn't have, the culture that he wanted to set in yet. And, we thought we were kind of big shots. In our junior year, we won, I think, 6 or 7 games. We went on to our senior year to turn that around to start off 19-0. We were tied for the school record for most wins, and we went on to play for a state championship. Unfortunately lost, but everything came together, and just having that emotion with, 3 other guys that you grew up with your whole life was a pretty special team.
That's awesome. Very cool. Go ahead, Bray.
I would probably have to say 2019 UNC Wilmington team. We struggled a little bit mid-season. Right before the conference tournament, Coach Mark Scaff was actually his last year in college baseball. So he said, look, we got 4 weekends left. You need to win 2 of them just to get into the tournament. I think we ended up winning 3 of those 4 series. We're a few moments away from actually winning all 4 of them. But we actually placed in the UNC regional that year, played Chapel Hill for the first game. Really good game. They beat us. I think they beat us by 1 on the walk-off. Like, we couldn't execute a pickle. So actually walked us off right there. And then we played Tennessee the next game with Garrett Crochet, a bunch of guys like that. And we unfortunately didn't come out on the good end. But I would definitely say that was one of the best teams I've been around.
Yeah, Garrett Crochet was in the big leagues like 5 minutes after making his last college pitch. It was fairly remarkable.
Yeah,
Hey,
he got called up the next week.
Seriously, it was crazy. Yeah, it was like, beam me up. Hey, so Bray, Coach Scaff, obviously a legend. What, in a sentence or two, what made him so great? I mean, you guys have been, UNC Wilmington has been to the tournament a million times, which is not easy to do as a mid-major. But what made Coach Scaff so great?
It's weird to say, but you often hear about coaches getting in trouble, doing the wrong things, or maybe a little different recruiting methods. But Coach Scaff, I can honestly say he did everything the right way. Followed everything to a T. Made sure we did everything the right way on and off the field, and make sure we went about our business the right way. So I definitely would say, if I had to sum up anything about him, is he did everything the right way.
Love it. That's great. Joe, go ahead. One team.
I'm actually going to give you 2 teams, and you'll
yes.
understand why once I get into it. So the current team that I'm working with, the Navy baseball team, is probably the first one because, I'm surrounded by dudes that are going to serve their country, some great kids that are, making a sacrifice to defend our freedom, and getting to work with those guys and see the passion that they have for the game, because a lot of these kids give up their ability to play professional baseball until at least their service is done. So I feel extremely fortunate to work with these kids and, make an effort to create the best college baseball experience for them before they go off and, fly jets and then here join the Marine Corps on. And then the second one is the 2019 team that I played on at Michigan that went to the College World Series. It was a team that was just committed to getting better every day. I was super fortunate to be a part of that run with those guys. And, we got hot at the right time, and, we were kind of a Cinderella story, but it was a long time in the making with all the commitments to development that the coaches and all the players had. And it was really special to see that come through, because it was, in my opinion, a long time coming.
Joe, it was one of the most incredible stories ever when you guys think about, I mean, if Jordan Wogu doesn't hit that walk-off in the conference tournament, you guys are down. It's 2 outs, 2 strikes. You're going to go 0-2 in the conference tournament. I feel very confident saying you're not getting in that large bid at that point. I mean, very much on the bubble. So 2 outs, 2 strikes in the 9th. You're going to go 0-2 in the conference tournament. And 3.5 weeks later, you're in Game 3 of the CWS Finals. I mean, it's just so. That's one of my favorite parts of our sport, right? That can even be in the same universe. Let me ask this, Joe. When you guys, because you guys played everybody on that run. I mean, UCLA, we forget, right? UCLA was the number 1 team in the country that year. The team you had to beat on the road in the Super Regional, not Vandy. I mean, Vandy was great. They were clearly the number 2 team. But of the teams that you played on that run, who was the team that stood out? Was it UCLA? Was it Vandy? Like, was there one opponent where you're like, gosh dang, I don't know how we're beating these guys?
Yeah, I mean, we always say if you want to be the best, you got to play the best and beat them, obviously. And so we started in at Oregon State in that regional, defending national champs, and then the 1 seed UCLA, who hadn't lost a series at home that entire year. And so, we kept saying, you don't lose a series at home until you lose a series at home. And we were convinced that, we were gonna make it happen. And so I would say UCLA, because they're a well put together team. We played our best baseball, they played their best baseball, and that's why you play the games. And so UCLA was definitely a very well rounded team, and that was probably that dog pile was probably one of the most special things I've been a part of.
Gosh, they need to write a book about your guys' run, Joe. I even forgot, like, you guys are in the regional where Cincinnati intentionally walked Adley Rutschman with the bases loaded and won the game. Like, it was actually the right move. That's how good Adley Rutschman was. Oh, so good. Kyle, go ahead.
Yeah, so my favorite team, it's hands down has to be last year's Nevada team. I mean, we made a regional for the first time in 21 years. So that was just a big monkey on our back, and especially playing here, took a lot of pride into that, and just being able to get to a regional. I mean, we had the number one hitter, Dylan Strom in the country, led the nation in average. Some unbelievable things, records broken by Tyler Bossetti. And then just our coaching staff, just knowing how hard they worked and coming together. I mean, these guys here, Coach Bruce, Coach Buckley, and Coach Alvarez have been together for forever, Long Beach guys, and have been around each other for, I don't even know how many years it is, but to see those guys and the excitement they had with all the regionals they had been to, but to take this school to the first regional in 21 years was pretty sweet. And the smile on their faces and how excited they were was pretty awesome. So definitely last year's team.
So, Kyle, you guys won 15 in a row last year at one point?
Yeah, so we went 15 straight conference wins to finish out the season. I think it started in Air Force. We lost the first game, then won the last two to win the series, and then it just we just rolled from there. I mean, our guys did a great job. They were super tough in that stretch of games was unbelievable. I mean, we really didn't do anything as coaches. We just kind of just sat back and let them play, and just do their thing. So it was fun to watch.
Was that, and you said that streak is what finished the season? Like, you took that into regionals, or there was a couple games at the end?
Yeah, no, so 15 straight conference wins. Yeah, so we ran that straight into regionals. Super offensive team. Yeah, it was super fun. Just, it was my first year coaching third base. And so I had Coach Bruce, breathing down my neck about coaching third base because, I mean, he's self-proclaimed, the best one in the country. But he's really good, so it's fun to learn from him. But it was fun because we were super offensive, and coaching third base was fun. But yeah, 15 games in a row was unbelievable. I think it's a school record for sure. So.
And Dylan Strom is gone, right? Or is he still there?
Yeah, so Dylan Strom got picked up by the Royals this last year. Yeah, free agent sign.
He missed some time with an injury, and I remember seeing his numbers look like you guys were trying to pull one off on everybody. Like, his numbers were a joke, how good they were. Like, it was crazy.
Yeah, and it's funny because, everyone gives us a little bit of a hard time offensively because we play in a little bit of elevation and whatnot. But, I mean, that guy he was making Stanford look small when we were there, in the regional and batting practice. And that guy's has unbelievable power. So
that's awesome.
He's a great hitter, great kid. And yeah, it was fun to coach him.
That's really cool. Go ahead, Easton.
I'm going to go the JUCO route.
Please,
say my
yes.
Freshman year. Yeah. Say my freshman year at Southeast Nebraska. I think we won 43 games maybe. That year we rattled off about a 17-game win streak, somewhere in the middle right there. I think we were ranked in the top 10 in the country at one point. But just the guys, man, just how closely knit we were. I mean, we were riding in 15-passenger vans, rolling right up to the field with our sack nasties, and just not caring at all. I mean, we just knew we weren't any good. I don't know if it was our bond that made us good, but I mean, we'd just roll up to the field and just get after it. And it was probably one of the best times that I would probably have to say. And actually, two of the dudes that were my teammates and my roommates are doing my wedding here in 3 weeks.
Nice.
So that just goes to show you, the tightness that we had. So.
Hey, who are the big rivals in that league? Like, who are if you guys want to get to the World Series, the JUCO World Series, who do you guys have to get through?
So at the time, they were Division II junior college, and we got beat by Nyack, who led the country in home runs. I think they had 160 home runs hit that year, and we stole over 200 bags. So we led the country in stolen bases. So it was Nyack. I think it was DMAC, Dakota County, some Iowa, Minnesota schools. Yep.
Gotcha.
So it was good. It was fun.
That's awesome. Really cool. And congrats on the nuptials, by the way. Good for you.
Thank you.
That's great. All right, boys, let's keep going. Let's do this. Let's do core beliefs in recruiting. This could be anything. Trust your contacts. I mean, you can go anywhere you want on this recruiting. What kind of players you like, how you organize recruiting, any key thoughts. But again, 3 sentences or less. Give me some, and some of you guys are just getting started. I mean, I think in many ways we're all work in progress, but give me some things that you feel like are really important in having a winning recruiting plan in a program. So go ahead, Forrest.
Yeah, I think number one, it's relentlessness. I think kind of leave no stone unturned. You never know where that next guy is going to come from, whether it's a local scout helping you out or a buddy that you hear a word from. I think doing the search all the way through to find out who that kid is, it could be the next Mike Trout or Jacob deGrom, number one. Number two, definitely have the guy to fit your culture, so figuring out who they are as a person, how their motor is, whether it's a high motor or a low motor. Obviously want to get the guys with the high motor and guys that want to play for you at your institution. I think that's a huge part of it. And last but not least, I'm a big advocate for finding a few things outside of baseball to get the recruits in, whether it be, what kind of their hobbies are, maybe be hunting and fishing. As much as we love baseball, I think you still need that small little bit of that personal connection to land those kids.
Yeah, it's brilliant. Love that, Forrest. Go ahead, Bray.
For the player aspect, of course, I think a lot of people don't understand it goes deeper than just what tools you have. For me, it's very important to know what your grades are like, how you treat your family, how you treat the ones around you, and if you love the game or not. As far as bringing in a player on your campus, like Forrest said, you have to find someone who fits your culture, someone that can represent the program on and off the field. Because once it's time for Thanksgiving break and Christmas break, you have to know that your guys are going to do the right thing and represent your program the right way. The last one I would say is players that can buy into their role. Everybody wants to be the Friday guy. It would be nice, but it's only one slot. So everybody can buy into their role and do what's best for the team to be successful.
Love that. Yeah, and it's so funny you guys say fit your culture, and I think sometimes part of that challenge is even identifying your culture. Like what kind of pinning the player down is tricky, but also pinning ourselves down. Like what exactly is our program and what does it stand for? That's but you're right. Fit is so important. Joe, go ahead.
So I would say the first thing is recruiting on character. Like the first you guys have said, you want guys that are going to fit your culture. You want guys that are going to be committed to getting better, not only at baseball, but be the best human beings possible, be the best future husbands and fathers and best students possible. So that's the first thing. And then the second thing is creating a program that can sell itself. So having core values, having a team that looks good when they play, have a good public image and in a good relationship with the community, doing community service and things like that, making hospital visits with kids and stuff like that, so that the program has a good reputation, so that, the word of mouth does spread and people hear about these things. So whatever school you're at, that they have, the best dudes that are there. And then lastly is just investing in relationships with kids, as you're recruiting them, they're not just another check, on a box or whatever, you're getting to know them. You're getting to know, kind of like what Forrest said, you're getting to know what they like. You're getting to know, their parents, maybe calling around other coaches in their league to figure out who they are and how they are on the field and if they're competitive and things like that. And and just being relentless in nature as a recruiter, making the extra phone call, investing in relationships, and being able to sell the program to kids.
I love that calling opponents. One of my favorite Ray Tanner stories. You'll appreciate this far. So South Carolina back in the day when they were really good, one of their key players was third baseman Adrian Morales. He was a Florida JUCO player. And I believe Chad Holbrook was the recruiter at the time. And Chad, as I'm told the story, was telling Ray, like, hey, I've called every person in that league and everybody hates him. And Coach Tanner says, I'll take him and see if there's anyone else like him, right? It's like, and that's who Adrian Morales was, man. Boy, he could stir it up, and he was a winning player. I love it. Go ahead, Kyle.
Yeah, so it's going to sound a lot of the same for you three guys. I think character is the biggest one when it gets down to it. You do a lot of research on these guys and dig in, making calls to whoever it is. And, you get down to, are they tough? Can they handle a fall? And especially with our staff, I think our staff, we pride our program on being tough. So the question that always comes up is this guy tough enough, to come in here and we're not talking tough where he's mad all the time. He's going to, fight somebody, but we're talking tough and receiving honest coaching. You hear that around here. We want guys that are going to be able to, take the honest coaching and the criticism to make them better. So, everyone's looking for the guys with tools, the run tool, power tool, whatever it is. But we ultimately, and for me too, it's we want guys that are going to come in here and work, be tough, and just good character guys, community service outside of it, taking care of schoolwork, not being able or not having to be, babysat all the time. So, when they get to the field, it's let's put our nose to the ground. Let's go. So I think that's a big one is character for us.
That's awesome. So Kyle, you referred to it, but your coaching staff is like super, like the hard wiring in your staff is the Long Beach State, which is an iconic program in college baseball. And it's when I think of Long Beach State, Dave Snow, Mike Weathers, Coach Buckley, it's no frills, like just love of the game, play the right way. So now Abe Alvarez is still on the staff at UNR, right?
Mm-hmm. Correct.
So
yeah.
He was a left-hander on the 2003 team, and this is, Long Beach I think it's right before Longoria, but I think Tulo's on that team or vice versa. Long story short, Abe Alvarez, it was the most movement I've ever seen. And we had a good team. We had Pedroia, Ethier, and those guys were like, the ball is all over the joint. So here's my question, Kyle. Please tell me Abe doesn't throw BP. Or he has fixed that because there's no way you guys are putting up those numbers with that guy throwing BP. No,
he does. He does. It's funny because it's all four of us love to throw BP. So it's like a fight, and whoever's throwing it. But Coach Bruce gives him a hard time. He calls it the cape. He's got a big high front side, and so he's talking about the cape, and his arm goes behind, and then it comes to the side, and guys figure it out. We kind of tell him, you have to figure it out because you're not always going to be comfortable, So, but he does throw BP, and he'll throw in the sim games. The sim games is what gets guys when we go coach pitch sim games. He'll throw in those, and it's pretty good. So
he was the classic guy where like you're doing a sky report and then you have fastball velocity, and I think we wrote doesn't matter because it's like the number is totally irrelevant. This ball is all over the stadium. It was awesome. He was so good. Oh my gosh, he was good. Easton, go ahead.
First and foremost, I think, recruiting good people, guys that are going to fit into your program, just like these guys talked about here. I do want to drop Eric Wedge quote again. And he says, you can't change culture, but you can change the mindset immediately. So that's something that's really, really stuck with me because if you change the mindset, then eventually the culture is going to get back, to where you want it to be, to where we want Wichita State baseball to be. Second thing, the intangibles, what's their work ethic like, the type of person, those type of things, is he a competitor, does he have to be, motivated, or is he self-motivated? These are the types of things that I call travel ball coaches and call high school coaches and just try to figure out, what type of kid is he? Third, obviously, finding guys that can play in the middle of the field, athletic, twitchy kids. Is he a good runner? That type of stuff. So,
love it. That's great. Good stuff. All right, Forrest, coming back to you. You're going for a job interview. I'm interviewing you. Give me your 3 references. Who are the 3 coaches you want me to call?
Yeah, so first off, obviously, Coach Toman here at Middle Tennessee. Blessed to work with him every day, and excited to kind of get our relationship, moving further along. Second would be my head coach at USC Union, Micah Stansel. A really special relationship with him, obviously being my first collegiate job and building that program up from literally the ground. So he's my number 2, and then my number 3 would be one of my good buddies who I actually met at ABCA a few years back in Dallas, Gene Bowles, who's the current head coach at Prince George's Community College.
Oh, that's awesome. Coach Bowles is the man. That's great.
Yes, sir. Good people
stuff
right there.
Yeah, amen. Go ahead, Bray.
One for me would definitely have to be Coach Mark Scaff, just for his resume and just him giving me a home when I needed one, and teaching me the importance of the little things. Number 2 for me would be Coach Randy Hood, who is the head coach at UNC Wilmington now. Definitely a great guy, great recruiter, really true definition of a player's coach, and definitely made me understand the value of leaving something better than the way I found it. And my last one would be Coach Ben Hall, who's the head coach at A&T, giving me a shot right out of college baseball. It's very rare. So for him to even be giving me this opportunity, I would definitely use him for a reference. A great guy as well.
That's awesome. Coach Hood, most famously an awesome college baseball coach, but very famously played with Michael Jordan, AA Birmingham Barons. Yeah,
Yep.
Spray, I'm going to give you some homework. Have you ever heard of or met Carrick Jackson?
No, sir.
Okay, so Carrick Jackson, you need to look him up and reach out to him. And if he's mad that you did, blame me. Tell him it's my fault.
Okay.
But so
right.
Carrick is one of my favorite people in the game. He's run a lot of the diversity committees for the ABCA, was just the head coach at Southern University, and now he's running the MLB Draft League. He's been an agent for Scott Boras. He was an assistant in the SEC. He was an assistant in the Big 12. He's done everything in baseball, and just one of the best people you're going to meet. I mean, this dude, he could be the commissioner of baseball for all we know in 15 years. But yeah, your personality reminds me of Carrick's, and he's awesome. Yeah, couldn't recommend him enough. Yeah.
Perfect.
For sure.
Thank you.
Yeah, Carrick Jackson. Yep. Go ahead, Joe.
So I'd say the first one would be my current head coach at Navy, Paul Kostakopoulos. We call him Coach Costi. I mean, I've been able to learn so much from him the last few months, and I'm extremely grateful that he gave me the opportunity to work for him and get into coaching right after I finished playing. And like I said, extremely fortunate to be there and work with the kind of dudes that I do at the Naval Academy. Number 2 would be Coach Bakich at Michigan. I was extremely fortunate to play for him for 6 years and see where the program, was when I started in 2015 as a freshman, and then 2021 at the end of my 6-year season. That guy gave me every chance to be successful. He helped me get into grad school. He's a man that I look up to, and I'm very fortunate to have played for him for 6 years. And then the last one is Josh Rebant. He's a manager in the Northwoods. And when I converted to pitching in 2019, I got to play in the Northwoods that summer for Josh Rebant. He's a manager of the Pitts Bitters, and he gave me every opportunity to be successful and develop my stuff. And when you think of summer ball, it's kind of a grind. Guys don't want to be there. It's hot, it's long, and especially the Northwoods. And so he created a culture of dudes that wanted to win, dudes that wanted to get after it, and dudes that wanted to just keep getting better. And I was extremely fortunate to add him to my list of contacts and learn a lot from him. And he's still one of the guys that I talk to quite frequently and bounce ideas off of.
Beautiful. That is a great list, Joe. Look at you. Kyle, go ahead.
Yeah, so I think my number 1, it's undoubtedly Coach Bruce. I think he is so well connected in this business. He's done so much for me and in my career and getting me started and being my mentor and just guiding me through, whether it's coaching third base or just what kind of coach do I want to be, and just all of that. So he's definitely my number 1. Number 2 would probably be Jay Johnson. Playing for him and him knowing me for 2 years, that I played for him would be, obviously a great connection. And then I kind of have a tie for third would be either Dave Lawn, who was the pitching coach here when I played. Yeah, Lonnie. So it was obviously at a U of A, and then Coach Buckley they would be, kind of number 3 right there.
Man, awesome list. What an awesome list. Well done. Go ahead, Easton.
So I'm going to go with my current head coach, Eric Wedge, managed in the big leagues for 10 years with the Cleveland Indians, Seattle Mariners, did, player development with Toronto Blue Jays. And then my second would be Mike Pelfrey, pitched in the big leagues for, 12 years or so. Great dude. He just got ordained. He's doing my wedding, so I got to give him a shout out for that.
Nice. That's awesome.
Yep. That's really cool. Third, I'm going to go with our director of ops, who is also a former Division I head coach, Lauren Hibbs, called Scooter.
Yes.
Got to give him a shout out too. That guy scored 125 runs, and it's still an NCAA record in a season.
How cool is that?
Yeah, really cool.
Oh, that's great. And we have an unbelievable fundraising idea for Wichita State. You tell Coach Wedge he's welcome, that we just thought of that tonight, Easton, that you guys are going to do fantasy camps where you actually young coaches get to watch Coach Wedge and Coach Pelfrey run bullpen sessions. I mean, come on. What's better
I'm sure
than that?
they would love that.
So, all right, last.
They would jump up.
Oh, heck yeah. Yeah. And I'm willing to try it out for free. First, I'll just be the guinea pig. Inviting myself. So, all right, boys, last one. Current program, and we're just going on the fall, and this could be your best player that really impressed you. But give me a name to watch in the 2022 season from your current program. Could be your most famous player, but give me a name to watch for 2022 from your current program. Go ahead, Forrest.
I'm going to go with our third baseman, Brett Coker. Pretty much the most stereotypical third baseman as far as what you would want as a third baseman. Very physical. Was able to come back this year and come back from summer ball, which they weren't able to go through 2 years ago, obviously with COVID. So he came from JUCO, so he's got 1 year under his belt, played through summer ball, and he's kind of taken a leadership program and just checks all the boxes. Physical, grinds it out of the plate. Defensively is awesome with the glove. So I think he's my pick to click for the spring for us this year.
Love it. Love it. Bray, go ahead.
If I had to pick one, I would probably say Court Maynard. He's a senior. He transferred from North Carolina Central. He's our third baseman. Like Forrest said, he's a guy that checks all the boxes. He's a leader on and off the field. Definitely a big bat in the lineup and a reliable glove on defense.
Excellent. Joe.
So I'm going to go with a guy by the name of Christian Policelli. He's a team captain. He can hit for power. He can hit for average. And he's a guy that walks the walk and talks the talk. He's a company commander within the Naval Academy. He's a great kid and extremely well-rounded, going to be a Navy pilot. And I'm really looking forward to watching him compete this spring.
That's awesome. Awesome. Go ahead, Kyle.
Yeah, so I'm going to go with one of our starting pitchers from last year, Cameron Walte. He put up really good numbers last year. I don't think he got the recognition that he probably should have, but he's just one of those guys that goes out. He started on Sundays, and he's going to be in the mix again on the weekends. And I think if he can do the same thing that he did last year and just go out and compete and give us a chance to win, I think he's going to be pretty good. So
awesome. Go ahead, Easton.
I'm going to go with a freshman out of Bethany, Oklahoma, Peyton Toll. He's a big 6'6", 230-pound kid, left-handed pitcher, plays first base. I think he had 5 or 6 home runs for us in the fall. Swings it left-handed too. And then he also had one of our better ERAs too. So, excellent.
Very, very cool. Boys, this was so fun. It's happened 5 weeks in a row where the 55 minutes goes like 55 seconds. This was awesome. So first of all, let me say thank you again to Netting Professionals. Netting Pros is the presenting sponsor of this series. We're so grateful to those guys. And again, we just want to encourage everyone to support them. They are a huge advocate for our sport, for college baseball. So thank you again to Netting Pros. Gentlemen, this was so fun. We've got a text thread going. We definitely need to stay in touch. The first piece of homework I'm going to give you on the thread is I want you to put something in there in the next 24 hours that you're reading or listening to, whether it's a podcast or a book, that is, as you're going down that path of becoming a leader, a better leader, something that you're leaning into, or something from your, I shared with the group last week, John Maxwell's Develop the Leader Within You is one of my favorite leadership books. I'm a podcastaholic, so I'm always looking for other things. I'm reading a book right now, The Breaks of the Game, about the Portland Trailblazers from the 1970s, which is really awesome. A lot of leadership lessons in there. So that's our homework for the next 24 hours. Let's put something like that on our thread. And again, thank you guys. This was really, really fun. Appreciate all the listeners as well. We'll be back here next Sunday night for version 6. We're going to do this all the way through the end of the year, and we will go from there. So everybody have a good night, and we will catch you next Sunday.